Although elite infantry is arguably one of the weaker unit types right now, there's definitely certain situations and builds, certain unit types that can do well. Generally, the more armor and sort of defensive stats, health, armor, melee defense, physical resistance, all that stuff, the more of that your unit has, the better chance they have of surviving. I mean, that's kind of obvious, but especially when it comes to infantry, because really everything kills infantry. In this game, ranged units, impact damage from monsters, monstrous cavalry, monstrous infantry, chariots, all of the above, magic AoE damage, right? Everything kills infantry. And so, the more defensive and sturdier infantry, it stands to reason to a degree, the more of a chance they will have at survival, as long as you have enough supporting troops to accompany them. And from this build, from right over Rohan, Kislev here, he's taken Kostaltine, and a nice wide build with some Zargard up front, and Kossars as a second line, including some Kossar Spears. He's got Kislev Warriors, a couple of Winged Lancers, so all cheap, except for those Zargard. Magic, he's got a Frost made of Tempest, and opposing him is Norsca, Wulfric the Wanderer. We've got Marauders, including the Iceworm Marauders. Very interesting choice. Famir Warrior's Great Weapon's also a pretty interesting choice. I kind of don't hate it, to be honest. There is quite a bit of anti-infantry, as we'll see here. Norscan Ice Wolves, Marauder Horsemen over here. So the anti-infantry is AoE damage, and again, this is one of the things that's particularly threatening. Burning Head doesn't do any AP damage, but is just high damage overall, and great for cutting through swaths of anything, really. Even stuff with armor can take some damage from this. Also, we've got Laura Boats here. Seafang from Wulfric, of course, does do good AP damage. 35% is definitely pretty solid. Can cut down quite a few units, and already we see those Burning Heads being unleashed on the lines of Kossars here, doing some massive damage, especially on one unit, but just ripping through multiple units and generating tons of value. Got Laura Boats there also following up, again hitting those archers, taking out the priority targets that threaten Wulfric on the Mammoth itself. Got the Marauder Horsemen also kind of closing out the flanks here. They'll definitely fare much worse in this fight here. They're getting just immediately counterfired by the bows of Kislev. The Famir Warrior's Great Weapons here, this is a pretty decent error. Expensive unit you don't want to be throwing away. Does get caught up solo in Kislev Warriors, which is a pretty nightmarish scenario. I say solo, it's actually even worse for the Famir, because Kostaltine's here providing some AP damage. And let's take a look at his kit. Looks like he does have the Blaze of Devotion, which is going to give a nice flaming damage. Very relevant against Norsca, certainly, with a lot of their units having weakness to fire. So yeah, you can see the Famir just get straight up bested there. And again, that's a pretty big disaster as far as a value perspective goes, but from a win condition perspective, I mean, losing the Famir, it's not the biggest issue in this particular build because there's not a lot of super threatening large units. This unit of Winged Lancers has basically been dealt with already. And then the anti-infantry prowess between these spells here. You can see another Burning Head being unleashed. And very importantly, the Zargard not taking too much damage there. So we'll see. With the Zargard and the Kislev Warriors looking pretty sturdy right now. But we've also got another few charges on Seafang, no doubt. Yet another 2 charges there. Unfortunately, can't see the Winds of Magic or the either player, to be honest. That would be nice, but alas, maybe sometime in the future. Creative Assembly has done a number of UI improvements, I will say, that I didn't think they would ever do, like, for example, making Vigor actively shown on these stat cards. Hopefully we'll get Winds of Magic on replays someday. But anyway, Marauders here, fighting it out, trading pretty well against Kislev Warriors. And the Ice Wolves, you can see, chasing those Winged Lancers quite nicely. They're going to get screened a little bit, but here, the important fight. Wulfric, supported by the Famir. He's taken out quite a few units. Zargard, one at least, is pretty much down. The other 2 doing quite healthy still, but Kostaltine switches targets to come try and support this pocket. You do get a little bit of a tear out taking hold on some of these Kislev units as Buyer Blood drops on a few of them. Wulfric also just pushing through with this Mammoth Mass. Smashing Kossars, taking some arrows in the process, but it's got some Marauder Horsemen close by as well. They can come in here, help clean things up, so Norsca's disruption and power, able to just overcome quite a few Kislev units, keep things close right now. Yeah, this is a situation now where the Famir Warriors will shine decently well. They've got a nice surround on Konstantin. He's relatively tanky. They're not weak to fire, unlike the Skin Wolves, right? Which is an area where Konstantin in particular will shine. I will say, 70 melee attack with 500 weapon strength. Konstantin's probably a relatively underrated combatant as it is. He is getting his armor sundered right now, but a huge charge from the Mammoth just absolutely deletes this unit of Kossars. Zargard also takes quite a bit of damage there. We're going to see more AoE damage unleashed from the Frost Maiden here. That Hawks of Miska rather, doesn't do any AP damage, but pretty good against these lower armor Marauders. Nice wide area of effect, and won't hurt the Zargard as much, so it can be used with Reckless Abandon here. Is that one of the ones that doesn't do any friendly damage? I forget. But a nice Burning Head in response, just absolutely wrecks those Kossars. But there's a lot of Zargard here. There's 75 Zargard still, which, you know, Zargard do have quite a bit of HP per model. They have a relatively lower model count than a lot of other infantry units, so they're quite sturdy. That means they actually can tank, like, these impact hits, as you have seen there. They're holding up quite well. Wulfric does get some pretty good hits on Konstantin, though. Will be enough to finish him off and perhaps cause further leadership issues for Kislev. We've got a handful of Kossars now in range here as well. You can see the Frost Maiden gets in here. Her attacks actually into Wulfric's back are probably going to do a decent amount of weapon strength right now if she can continue to get hits. You can see those actually Marauder champions mixed in there. I didn't even realize. A common mistake probably by players as well, to be honest. But yeah, the champs are a pretty good comparison, honestly, to Zargard. They're both exhausted right now, but you can see the stats are pretty close. The Zargard just having an advantage in armor, even with the exhaustion. That does give them just kind of a clear advantage in my view, especially considering they're non-AP units. But Konstantin does get chased off here by the Shaman Sorcerer of Fire, just as Wulfric gets routed. Let's see if he actually gets chased off. Famir online for the time being, and the Marauder Horseman staying alive still. Staying alive. Anyway, I won't subject you to my singing for the time being. But the Horsemen going to do a great job as a hybrid unit, chasing routing units and throwing their javelins whenever they need to. But Zargard reforming, still two of them with this quite healthy Kislev warrior. And the Frost Maiden here can support their leadership, even if Konstantin gets chased off or even killed, which I think he's probably not going to get killed here. I don't think the Shaman Sorcerer can kill him before the edge of the map. We'll see. But it's just kidding. He definitely can, as he gets a couple of hits in there and Konstantin gets heal capped. Yeah, he definitely can. And there goes Konstantin. So, with that, we'll kind of stabilize things for Norsca a little bit. You can see the Famir pull back. We've got these Marauder Horsemen still with a tiny bit of javelins. They're actually going to throw their javelins at the Kislev Warriors, which, you know, I kind of understand from a damage efficiency perspective, but if you could throw these into the Zargard, it might arguably be better value. I don't know, the Zargard do have that missile block chance, and the armor is going to mitigate quite a bit of the damage, so the raw damage dealt won't be nearly as high, but it is against a much higher value unit. Not sure the math on that, to be honest. Someone probably could do the math and tell us, but yeah, they don't have a whole lot of volleys left. 4 volleys on 52 Marauder Horsemen. Some of those are going to miss, some of those are going to get missile blocked, and then the ones that do hit are going to do, what, 7 AP, 15 base missile damage against 81 armor. Maybe throw at this one that has 61 armor from their exhaustion. That would probably be the best, actually. You see, that's exactly what happens as those Marauder Horsemen. I don't think they actually had an order to throw at that unit. That is the unit they should be throwing at right now, I think, probably. The Kislev Warriors, I don't know, they are pretty threatening, though, at that anti-large, taking out the Famir Warriors. The Famir are also kind of holding up some of the balance of power, as is Wulfric here with 1,000 HP. No more Lore of Boats, but he does have another Burning Head here. Maybe, yeah, that's going to be a pretty bad miss. That might have been the game, actually, right there, unfortunately, for Norsca, missing that Burning Head. They really needed that on the Kislev Warriors once they were committed to an engagement and all blobbed up. could have probably routed the unit in one go. Unfortunately, I don't know if anything could have routed the Zargard, but yeah, you see there, that one burning head in and of itself was enough to route those Kislev warriors. Wulfric also charges in, looking for some terror routes. He does get By Our Blood instead. Very clutch faction ability for Kislev holding them, as is this other Zargard here that's just completely undaunted. Yeah, Wulfric does come in. He does some massive damage to the one Zargard, but kind of targeting his attacks. Attacking the Ice Switch. Ooh, maybe he gets a clutch terror route here. Just absolutely deletes the Ice Switch, but he himself falls. I guess to the Ice Switch himself? I don't know. Maybe a Zargard actually chopped him down there. I wasn't up close enough to see who got the killing blow, but critically, Wulfric falls here. Balance of Power does swing full to even, but now with the Frost Maiden here, By Our Blood's active. She's going to hold at least until the Zargard are able to get into combat. Actually gets a few critical hits as well on the Shaman Sorcerer. And then it's just a matter of the Zargard tanking it out. And yeah, as decent of a combatant as the Shaman Sorcerer is for a caster, he's not a match for this sturdy block. Yep, and just immediately routes to the Zargard. There we go. So they managed to clutch out the win there. So definitely elite infantry still have their place and can be used to great effect. Zargard are in a really nice place that they're not too elite. You don't invest as much in them as you would in like a 1400 plus cost infantry. They're only, what, 1,000 for the shielded variant, which is pretty decent, and considering how sturdy they are, again, a lot of HP per model, definitely on the upper end of HP per model for infantry units. Good melee defense, right? Yeah, overall decent mass, armor, all the stuff going in their favor to be able to survive as much as possible. And here, you know, again, there wasn't like a ton of great direct anti-infantry threats outside of Wulfric and the Shaman Sorcerer of Fire here from Galrush. So I do like the pick of the Famir. They're sort of an unusual pick, but at the same time, I do like them here to counteract Kislev cavalry or other large units they might potentially bring. I don't know. Would you see Ice Worm, Frost Worm, whatever it's called in this matchup? Probably not. Nonetheless, I do like the pick. I think overall build construction is pretty solid here, and the champs actually do match up quite well. It's maybe something, maybe you'd want more champs here somehow, although I don't really know what I would change, to be honest. Yeah, maybe like cut these two and we basically upgrade the Ice Horn to another champ. Yeah, hard to say, but the champs and the Zargard both sit in a similar category, as do the new shielded Black Orcs, actually. So let's do a fun little quick comparison of these sturdy 1,000 cost infantry, elite infantry. I would definitely put them lower elite infantry, but still within that category, certainly. So what was the other one? Yeah, Kislev, Norsca, and a green skins. So let's take a look here. Yeah, 1,000 costs there, 1,000 costs there, and 1,000 costs there. So very comparable units, all same class, same price. Again, Zargard with that plus 10 base armor, a little bit less base HP. They do get less offensive stats as the game goes on as well. Rage, of course, giving leadership, physical resistance, and melee attack is quite nice. But yeah, overall both, yeah, Zargard also less models. So again, even though they have less HP overall, they do have what, more HP per model, maybe? Yeah, basically. I didn't do the math, honestly. I probably should have before I recorded this video, but maybe I'll insert that here in like a comment or a card or something. But regardless, Black Orcs in a similar boat, more like a Zargard in terms of only having 80 models, but they do have just straight up 2,000 more HP, and that's really where they shine. They have less armor and melee defense, although their weapon strength, oh no, that's only the Arwar, right? Immovable Bulwark can increase their melee defense even further to make them the tankiest for sure. I mean, they have the most armor as well of any of these three units, so Black Orcs can definitely compete with these other two for sure. They've got more charge bonus and weapon strength as well, lower base melee attack, but of course they have access to WA and tons of melee attack buffs because the greenskins, that's kind of their faction identity, right, in many ways. Yeah, Zargard do have more leadership, which is kind of to be expected, but do lack immune to psychology, but have By Our Blood, so I'd basically call that a wash at the end of the day. Certainly Black Orcs compare quite favorably to the Marauder Champions. They've got silver shields as well, whereas the Marauder Champions, out of the 3 of these, they have the lowest armor and only bronze shields, so that does make them definitely the squishiest against missiles. So definitely things to consider. Overall, though, very fun game, very fun comparison. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.